Hello, I wanted to make this small tutorial to show you guys how to make a custom button. This is something I have been looking for a while and I couldn't really find any decent tutorials or documentation on it until a few days ago when I asked a question on the Slackers Discord and somebody showed me something that I didn't know of, which is actually very handy, and that is basically that you can use event dispatchers to basically create buttons just like Unreal has the events when you actually the ones you use to make your buttons work basically. So like for example when you place a default Unreal button, you can use these events to drive all sorts of things in your code. Like for example, I have attached it to a simple integer which counts up when you press the button. But the cool thing is that you can actually do the same thing with a custom button using event dispatchers. So you can actually create the same thing in a custom button. Um, and the cool thing about this is that you basically can create your own custom buttons, which you can then use in all of your widgets, and you can simply change them by going to your custom button and basically changing things around in here, and then you only have to do it once instead of replacing all the default buttons that you would normally use in your project. So to give a little example, this is the custom button and you can see that it works just fine, exactly the same as the default Unreal button. So yeah, alright, I'll show you how to do this. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is we have to create our widget, which will be our custom button. So I have already made this one, but I'm just gonna create a new one, and I'll call it let's call it tutorial custom custom button 2. There we go. And so basically the first thing we want to do is we want to drag in an Unreal button, which will be the base from which we will work, because we still obviously need the Unreal button code, but the thing is that we wrap it inside of a widget, and that way we have more control over it and we don't have to replace it every time that we want to change the look of our buttons. So basically we'll just add a button here. Let's call it button base, I guess. Let's then make sure that it fully covers the canvas, and we're going to throw in some text. There we go. Let's make it 40, like that. Now, one thing I haven't showed yet, which is also handy, of course, is when you select a button, you can also simply change the name like that. And that's very handy, because if you would normally place a button, you would do basically this. You would spawn in a button, and then you would add text to it, and then you'd have to change that text button to whatever you want it to be. But that is just taking a lot more time than using your custom made button and just changing this right here. So that is also something very handy, and you can of course use all kinds of variables. Like if you want to set a different color, you could also add a linear color variable. So that is very handy. So let's go back. Right, so what we want to do is basically we want to go here, and you'll see when you select your button, you will have your events, Like for example, if I would want to use the onClicked event, you would click the plus, and then you'd get this. And then basically what you do is you create an event dispatcher. You call that onClicked, for example. And then you call that, connect that up, and like that. And basically if you want to be able to change the text on it, what you do is you create a variable, call it button text, and then change it to exposed. And now when we throw in our custom button nope. Oh, maybe I have to save. No. Let's see here. So here it is. And you can basically scale it like you want. What we have to do now is we have to use the pre-construct in order to set the text on the button. So for that to work, we have to first make it a variable, otherwise we can't access it. Let's change the name to button text, and we drag that in, and then we use set text like that, and then we connect that. And what this basically does is every time you change something in the engine, this will be fired. If you use this will only fire when you actually launch the game. So if you want to change things live while you're working in the editor, you want this this node right here. So now you can see that there's no text, but if we enter test here, it will appear. So that's cool. And now if you want to, like for example, if you want to set our custom image, we can just use it and set a color, for example. Then we can copy that, paste it over here, paste it over here as well, and over here we'll make that gray and dark, and then we'll make this, for example, green. So let's anchor that. And now if we want to use the event that we made, the one that we made here, which is basically connected to when you press the actual button, it will trigger this event, and that will link to this event, which you can then use over here. So if you click that, and if we increase the counter as well, then normally it should increase it. So yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. And that way you can just, like if you want to use more than one button, you can basically copy it, paste it, and then basically what it will do, normally it should show the color, which it doesn't. That's kind of strange. Let's see if it works if I drag in the custom button. Oh yeah, okay, so I don't think you can copy them. Not sure why not. Let's see if that... No, it does work. Okay, well. And then you can, of course, also link those buttons. And that one as well. And that should work. So basically now they all work. And like for example, if you want to change your button, you can simply go to your custom button widget and say that we wanted to change it to pink, for example. Like that. Now they should all be pink, except that one. Not sure why. Probably because I copied it as well. So okay, yeah, I think copying doesn't really work. So, but if you do that and then connect that, it should work. Let's try that. Yeah, now it works. So yeah, that's it. All right.